Greetings, folks. This is Late Night Tuesday, March the 5th, 2019. I'm getting to be regular at this. And the reason I'm doing this is when I see something I like, if I'm going to comment on it, I like to do it when it's fresh in my mind. Well, I just watched, by the way, I'm Tom Lineweaver. This is my commentary. I just watched a YouTube video of Candace Owens speaking at CPAC, Conservative Political Action Committee. And of course we know the speakers have to go in there and bash the Democrats and the people on the left and extol conservatism. But how can you honestly support some of the things that conservatives believe in? So I've wrote a couple notes. I mean, if I was going to comment on every little word that she said, we'd be here for 3 hours or longer. And I am not going to do that. Anyway, so there's a few things that I want to respond to. She doesn't seem to understand how Trump can be liked in one venue, but not liked in another venue. For example, in entertainment, people liked him in entertainment. People liked him when he was doing his TV programs and so forth. He's well liked about those things. But does that mean he's qualified to be president of the United States? I don't think so. Not any more than Ronald Reagan was. And I supported Ronald Reagan because I was young and stupid. And I admit it. Okay. Alright, what's next? Let's see. Why did I put my notes over here? She mentioned that she went down through a list of things that people said about Donald Trump after he announced that he was running for president. And one of the things is that he is a rapist. Well, Miss Owens, he is a rapist. At least according to his first wife. You see, his first wife did a sworn deposition that he raped her. That sworn deposition is still valid. It's never been recanted. It's never been challenged. So there it is. She called him a rapist. Then, of course, he was being sued for rape. Raping of a 13-year-old girl at some party. Now, that has not been determined. I don't even know what happened to that case. Is that something that they paid off? Like they paid off other people like Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal? Let me tell you something. Miss Owens, can you tell me that there's any morality in Donald Trump? Because I sure don't see it. Alright. Okay. Enough about Donald Trump. I've spent a lot of time condemning that man, and I'll probably do so in the future. Okay. Now, she talked about the party that instituted slavery. And she was referring to the Democrat Party. I'm sorry, Democratic Party. I have to get that right. Democratic Party did not institute slavery. Miss Owens, the fact is, we've had slavery in this country long before the Democratic Party was ever formed. So, you can't make that charge stick. You really need to go learn history of our country. Because it's obvious you don't understand it. So, the Democratic Party did not institute slavery. All right. Let's see. I too applaud Vice President Pence for loving his wife. But, Miss Owens, he does not love Jesus Christ. Because if he did love Jesus Christ, he could not support Donald Trump's unloving policies. Jesus taught us to love. Mike Pence is not being loving when he supports Donald Trump's unloving policies. His unloving policies toward the so-called illegal immigrants. And by the way, there's no such thing as illegal immigration in the Constitution. So obviously, in this issue, again, you don't understand the Constitution. Read the Constitution, and you show me one place where Congress has the power to regulate immigration. And if you can look it up in the dictionary if in case you want to say naturalization and immigration are the same thing. No, they're not. And immigration is not invasion. So I just want to get that out of the way. Okay. Let's see. Now, she said that America is not a racist nation. Miss Owens, are you blind? I mean, come on. You know, I go through the internet, Facebook, Twitter, and I go through various different places on the internet, and I can see this white supremacist movement. They would like to send black people back to Africa. They want to get rid of black people in this country. And if you don't see that, you are totally blind. Now, I'm not a racist. I don't have a problem with the color of your skin. But I do have a problem with your attitude. If you think that America is not a racist country, you got a problem. And you need an attitude adjustment. I mean, if you look at the history of the black people in this country, you know, things haven't changed all that much. Sure, the Constitution made corrections, but did the attitudes change? Of course not. How in the world can you say America is not a racist nation? Now, yes, I agree with you. There were people, black people, that got their living off of racism. In fact, I used to think, excuse me, I used to think when Jesse Jackson was saying keep hope alive, he was actually saying keep racism alive. I mean, these people found racism, there goes my tongue again, racism everywhere, you know, and I don't believe anybody should get away with crime, even when they're black. Alright? Okay. I don't think anybody should get away with crime. But, you know, we have a full House of Congress. We've got Congress. We've got Senate. We've got a president. They get away with crimes every day because they violate the Constitution. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Yet, for some reason, there doesn't seem to be any consequences for their criminal activities. All right. Okay, let's see. What was the next thing? Okay, she said abortion is murder. And she condemned the people on the left about abortion. And, you know, the people on the left certainly want abortion. I agree with you on that. But so do conservatives. You know, we had supposedly conservative rule for the first 2 years of the Trump administration, and they didn't do one thing about abortion. They can get rid of abortion if they wanted to, but they're not. Conservatives care more about big business than they care about unborn babies, and that is why they don't. That's why they are not getting rid of abortion. Now, there is a way, and one of these, if you want, I can show you how I would get rid of abortion. I mean, it starts with the fact that Roe v. Wade is an unconstitutional decision. Roe v. Wade violates the Constitution. All right. So, yes, and I agree with you about black people. Abortion. The intent of abortion was to get rid of black people. A lot of people don't know that. And you claim this is not a racist nation? I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, or whoever it was that talked about wanting to get rid of black people and we need abortion to do that. I don't remember who talked about it, but anyway. But yes, that's what abortion is for, to get rid of black people. And you don't think this is a racist nation. Okay. Now, she comes along and says, the left needs God. Well, you know what? So does the right. Conservatives hate God. And I can tell by their actions or their beliefs. If you believe in Donald Trump, if you believe that what he is doing is right regarding the people coming up from the southern border, then you hate God. God, I mean, Miss Owens, have you ever read a Bible? Have you ever read a Bible? What does God say about how we should treat foreigners and strangers in our land? He said we should be loving toward them. Are you going to claim to me that Donald Trump is being loving to these people? Are you going to claim to me that conservatives are being loving to these people? And let's face it, they are people. They are created by God. They have been, Jesus died for these people. So, they are no different than you or me. We were born here. But they are no different. God created them. Jesus died for them, the same as they did for us. And for us to go against them, we're going against God. So, I'm sorry. You know, it's at that point she said, build the wall. Build the wall. Okay, here we go. Again, you don't understand the Constitution. You show me one place where Congress has the power to build that wall. Show me. And by the way, if you understand the Constitution, you understand what I said. The Constitution gives Congress certain powers. The president is the head of the head of the executive branch in government, and it's his job to carry out what Congress does. In other words, they pass a law that he carries out that law. If it's constitutional. If it's not constitutional, he should veto it. But that hasn't happened in a long time. These people violate the Constitution constantly. They don't keep their oath of office. None of them do. And so how can you claim to be a conservative Well, I can understand it, that you do. But you don't understand conservatism. You see, I am 63. Well, I'll be 63 in May. I have been a conservative. Not anymore, because I grew up. When I was a kid, when I was younger, conservatism was the thing. Conservatives talked about the Constitution. They talked about getting rid of the Department of Education. That certainly never happened. Ronald Reagan won an election saying things like that. But he was a liar. What he actually did was make the Department of Education larger. He tripled the size of that department. So the Constitution is meaningless even as far back as Ronald Reagan, and probably even before that. The last person that tried to keep his oath of office, I believe, in the White House was President Kennedy. And I think that's probably why he was shot. Because he wanted to do the right thing. He wasn't perfect, but I think he was a much better president than anything we've had since. Build the wall. Then she talks about how our country was founded upon common sense and freedom. Really? What gave you that idea? And where's our freedom today? Do you call going to an airport being strip searched just to get on a plane? Do you call that freedom? And what about the Patriot Act? The Patriot Act practically destroys the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Is that freedom? Conservatives gave us the Patriot Act. They are taking away our freedom. Wake up, Miss Owens. Conservatives are taking away our freedom. Oh, so are the liberals, for that matter. So, okay. Now, you talked about conservatives' belief in God and the Judeo-Christian values and principles. Really, I do not see that conservatives believe in God. I see that conservatives are haters of God. And I think I said a bunch of stuff that goes to that. You know, how they treat these so-called illegal immigrants, how they mistreat just about everybody. Look what they're doing to people on food stamps. Look what they're doing. Look, they're picking on the poorest of the poor, and yet they give huge tax breaks to rich people. Now, let me tell you something. Go back in history. You go look at our history and why they had taxes that they did. And you go look at Federalist Papers. I'm sure the topic is discussed there. They had the taxes they did because they were taxing the wealthy. Like, for example, property taxes. Now, there are people complaining about property taxes today, but back then, that was the tax. Why? Because only wealthy people owned property. So, I think we had a pretty good tax structure. But we don't today. We should get rid of the income tax. Why aren't conservatives talking about getting rid of the income tax? We should get rid of the income tax. Because income tax are hurting the American people. And the only people that got big benefits from the Trump income tax program, what do you call it? Anyway, the only people that got a break from Donald Trump are the wealthiest among us. The top rate was, 39.2% under Obama. He made it 36%. The bottom rate under Obama was 10%. The bottom rate under Donald Trump is 10%. So you tell me who got the big tax benefit under Donald Trump. Okay. Believe in God. He doesn't believe in God. Conservatives don't believe in God. They love abortion, for example. Now, you also talked about the Judeo-Christian principles. Honey, by the way, are you married? I must tell you, I've always been attracted to black women. Always. I mean, I didn't want to say anything when I was younger because my dad wasn't, he wasn't a racist. He was one of those people that said that black people should stay with black people and white people stay with white people. He didn't believe in mixing the races. But if a black person needed his shirt, my dad would give the shirt off his back to help a black person. And he's done it. I've seen him do it. So, but he just didn't like to mix the races. That's his problem. That's not my problem. My first crush, my first ever crush, was on TV. My first crush was Leslie Uggams. She was on Mitch Miller. Now, we had a black and white TV set, but I loved that woman. Oh, I loved that woman. I liked her. I still like her. I like her music. Anyway, but yeah, I've been attracted to black women all my life. So I think black women are beautiful. There's no racism in my book. Anyway, now, what was I talking about? Oh, Judeo-Christian principles. Anyway, read the Bible, ma'am. Please read the Bible. There's no such thing. When you go and understand the New Testament, there is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity, which now is called Christian Zionism. There is no such thing. You can't find it. First of all, if you ever understood covenant theology, you would understand that the old covenant is gone and we are under a new covenant. You know, Israel was the northern kingdom, and it was conquered long before even Christ came into being. But Judea was still there when Christ was there, and he was born in Judea. So, at any rate, but when the temple came down in 70 AD, that ended Judaism. So there is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. It doesn't exist, not from a biblical perspective. This whole Judeo-Christianity is a lie. And it's there to control our foreign policy. I can get into that sometime. I probably will. But I don't think we should use anything in religion to control our foreign policy. Now, I think one day we need a president that's going to correct our foreign policy based on biblical truth, because we are using this Judeo-Christian lie to support Israel. And we shouldn't be supporting Israel. Well, in fact, we shouldn't be supporting any other country outside of the United States. You know, but that's another story too. All right. So you said some good things. I didn't write them down, sorry. But you did say some good things that I agreed with. But I wanted to show what I disagreed with, because, and it's now 24 minutes. My goodness. I'm getting longer and longer. I'm a long-winded guy, let's face it. I should be a preacher, shouldn't I? Anyway, any churches out there need me? Oh, but churches, I want you to know, I would preach the truth, not the lies that you are accustomed to. All right. Okay, so I don't see a belief in God among conservatives. I don't see it. They support abortion. They support Trump's ungodly policies toward immigrants. So, I'm sorry. I started out as a conservative in my lifetime. But today, conservatism is not the same. And so I left it. Conservatism is ungodly, unprincipled, unvalued. Now, I'm not saying every conservative is like that. I'm saying the conservative movement is that. I mean, we have conservatives that support Donald Trump, and that is ungodly. Okay. So, Miss Owens, that's my response to your CPAC speech. By the way, there was a time I was considering running for president, and I got a lot. You say this is not a racist country? I got a guy calling me from Louisiana, and he said, hey, if you want to run for president, I got a lot of support for you. I mean, there are various different groups throughout the United States that would love to support somebody like you. And that represents 50 million people in the United States. So he promised me, he literally promised me 50 million supporters if I ran for president. And it was going well, too, for a while, until I supported Michael Brown. You see, you say there's no racism. Well, there certainly is among conservatism. Michael Brown was shot by a police officer. Now, I believe the Constitution is colorblind. How about you? I believe that you, even though you're black, you have the same constitutional rights as I do. And so did Michael Brown. And part of the Fifth Amendment says, no person shall be deprived of life without due process of law. Michael Brown did not have that due process of law. And when we get into the point where cops are becoming judge, jury, and executioner, we got a problem, aren't we? Don't we? Michael Brown was murdered, and that cop was set free. This man should be on trial for murder. And remember, Mr. Wilson, there is no statute of limitation on murder. At least not here where I'm at. So, Miss Owens, you talk about these police targeting black people as being a myth. Well, let me tell you something. I've studied the issue. I have seen oodles of YouTube videos. I've looked at articles on Google and everything else. I believe black people are being targeted by police. And I wrote an article about that, and I will gladly share it with you. Just let me tell you something. There was a black woman. She was driving, and I think her one rear light was out. This is what happened to her. A cop pulled her over. Now, I don't know how this all occurred, but she wound up outside of her car, away from the camera, so you didn't see what happened to her, but she was brutalized and murdered by a cop. All because she was black. Had nothing to... I've been stopped for things, and they didn't get me out of the car, and they didn't bludgeon me to death. But this is happening to black people, and if you don't see it, you're blind. Go drive through a white neighborhood sometime and see what happens. Anyway, so yes, I do believe that black people are being targeted by police. It's in the same way that Israeli police target Palestinians. I've seen videos of that, and it's exactly the same thing. But you obviously know better. You're not old enough to know better. I'm 63. I've seen a lot in my life. And I'm giving you the benefit of my experience and my observances. Now you can either learn from that, or maybe one day you will be targeted by a cop. That's my commentary. I'm sorry, I did not expect to go 30 minutes, but I think this is a very important issue. This lady needs to learn the truth. So, that's my commentary for tonight. Thank you for listening.